Hi, everybody. My name is Tiffany Toda. I'm a marriage and family therapist here in California. And I am with Mira.
Hi,
And
everybody.
Mira, tell where are you at?
I'm in Egypt.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
are, it's morning time for me, it's evening time for you.
Yeah.
And here we are across the globe sharing and talking about topics around emotional health and well-being, specifically within Middle Eastern cultures. And so today we will be talking about stress, particularly amongst our teenagers and young adults within the cultural context of our Arabi community. And so, but before we get into that, I wanted to share a really cool story of how Mira and I got connected and how we met. Over the last, I'm going to date myself, over the last 15 years, I've been a marriage and family therapist for almost 20 years. The last 15 years, I wanted to provide mental health, emotional health services to my community.
Yeah.
Now, if you can imagine 15 years ago, so like think of your parents, your grandparents, we didn't speak one bit about mental health. That wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah.
But I in my heart, I felt like our community needed to have a place to talk about some of the things we struggle with, which is very unique to, and I know each Arabi culture has their own nuances, but in general, there's so many cultural messages that I saw so many of my friends, my cousins, my community suffer, and we had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I had nowhere to go until I started my own therapeutic journey. Well, here we are 15 years later. I'm at a point in my life where I could really focus on how do we help our communities, especially the younger generations.
Yeah.
So I needed some help doing that. And I was seeking some help, and I prayed to God. I said, God, please, can you bring somebody Arabi, which I knew would have been, it was like a needle in a haystack. Like, who is going to be interested in this project? But I wanted somebody Arabi, somebody within our community. I said, please, God, just whoever comes to me, just hope that it's a really good fit for this project so that I can have somebody to help me move forward with this vision of creating healing within our communities. Well, I was so lucky and so fortunate that Mira responded, and she and I started talking, and I said, what made you interested in this project?
I'm an Egyptian girl, okay? And just like any other Egyptian girl in our culture, when we graduate high school, if we're good and if we did an amazing job and we got like a high grade, what happens next is basically we get forced to become a doctor or an engineer or something around that. So I had a very, my story was just like any other Egyptian girl. I became a dentist now after 5 years of a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of things that we're gonna go over later. And then I wanted to tell people more about what happens when you're this kind of teenager and you have to go to a certain path and how this affects your life. I wanted to share this with people so that our hope is we can get people to understand that it's not something that you get forced to do. You don't have to do it. We're gonna talk about that later, but yeah.
That's right, because we put so much pressure on ourselves to excel.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you were drawn to this project because you struggled in in trying to figure it out. And then when I said, hey, I need some help with this, you were like,
yeah, me.
That's awesome. You're like, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm very grateful to have you on board. And so our first topic is we're really going to address this stress.
Yeah.
What was that exam that you told me about that you guys have at 12th grade, Ishihek? What was it?
Oh, it was called الثانويه العامه.
I said, oh man, that sounds like a big test. Tell me a little bit, or tell everyone a little bit about this test and how it impacts. Now, my sense is, I know in different parts of the Arab world that there is this test. I think for Palestine, it's called al-Tawajihi. There's different names for it. I hope I didn't botch that. Sorry, people. Right? That there are these big exams, my sense, all throughout the Arab world. So it may not be just specific to Egypt, that there's this pressure around the 12th grade to take this big exam.
Yeah. It's not just one exam. It's a year where you have to study different subjects and take exams for different subjects, and then at the end of the year, you get a grade, and it's a percentage that allows you to join certain universities. Yeah, that's it.
Oh man, that sounds intense. And that's a whole year of that?
Yeah, it's a whole year.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Would be considered chronic stress.
Yeah.
So it's not just your, what I call garden variety stress. That is chronic stress because it's over a 1 year period of time. So now imagine, how old are you when you're taking with this year?
18.
How usually 17, 16,
no,
or 18? 18?
Yeah.
Okay. However, preparing for that, you're looking at a developmental life period of youth to adult.
Yeah.
Right? You're moving into that youth to adult transition period.
Exactly.
Which is complicated for so many other reasons. And within our culture, it's even more complicated because of other societal pressures. Well, it sounds challenging in so many ways because is that not, so you have to make a career decision fairly young.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you probably don't even really know who you are, really.
Yeah. And that's,
in general.
And that's normal. I really wanted to say that. It's totally and completely normal for you not to know what you want to do in life when you're 18 years old. What do you think?
You're talking to somebody that had 3 careers, right? All throughout her life. And I think part of that was because my parents led me into a particular direction. Yeah. That wasn't a direction that was in alignment with me.
Yeah.
So I did what my parents, what was, culturally acceptable, societally acceptable. And you guys have to remember, at that time, career for women, even here in the United States, I don't know how it was in other countries, but here in the United States, even back then, our role was to get married and have children and to have your home.
Yeah.
Now you're talking, 30 years ago. So for me, career was always important. Yeah. Even though in the back of my mind, they said, you just have to get married. But then they steered me into a career that I didn't necessarily want. Mm-hmm. And so it led me on this career where every time I grew as a person, I got clear and clear on what I wanted and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Until finally, after, till I started this career in therapy, being a therapist, that I was like, I'm finally really doing what I want to do, which is teaching, workshops, sharing my knowledge.
Yeah.
However, you guys have to remember, it took me a long time to get there because I had to separate slowly and gently from what my parents wanted. So I get it. So now for you guys, or I know for someone who's entering this year-long exam period, mm-hmm. I'm going to really encourage you to think of it as just for now.
Yeah.
Right? So you studied, you studied to be a dentist.
Yeah.
You are a dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's your career trajectory, right?
Yeah.
However, 5 years from now, we don't know where that will take you.
Yeah.
So see it as maybe for now, this is where I want to do this to please my parents. That's okay. I'm doing this for the society, for the culture, because maybe that's easier for you to do now until you can grow and really work on yourself. And then later you may be able to make some changes.
Yeah. That's an amazing message, by the way, about their life. If they're thinking about what they're doing now and they're focusing on just now, I think that's very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I call them game time decisions.
Yeah.
Game time decisions. So this is your game time. So now you have this year-long exam. Let's talk about maybe some of the stress and how it impacts the body. What were some of the stressors that you felt?
Oh, it's being constantly just angry, moody, cranky, not excited about anything, unable to sleep, overthinking. Oh my God, overthinking. Yeah, I think this is the biggest one out of them all. It's overthinking. I think
Yes.
that's enough to that speaks of itself.
Yeah,
right?
that's stressful enough.
Yeah.
Other symptoms around stress and chronic stress. I love that. The moodiness,
Yeah.
the lack of interest in activities. Maybe you procrastinate or avoid things that you should be doing for yourself. You're feeling this overwhelm, and the overwhelm can feel so strong in the body that sometimes the brain says, I don't want to be here anymore.
Oh.
Now, I know we don't necessarily want to talk about suicide or suicide ideation. I know that's really, however, we're seeing a very difficult trend. I don't know what the stats are in other Arabic countries. However, here in the United States, where there is high teenage suicide rates because of all this overwhelm and all this pressure, that the brain, from a neuropsychology perspective, it gets so overwhelmed that the brain is going to go, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Does it mean you really want to end your life? Not necessarily. It could feel like that because of the ruminating thoughts, the loop. Then you're not sleeping, you're not eating. This is what we call a recipe for disaster in mental health.
Yeah.
So if you have those thoughts, and I don't want to get too deep into that, but if you have those thoughts, know that that is an indicator of how overwhelmed and stressed you are. And then we'll talk about ways to get some help and support from that.
Yeah.
But that's a real big one. Stomach aches, like some people will feel like this tightness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nausea, like you feel like you want to vomit. Other ones, fatigue. Did you say, like, were you not sleeping at all?
No, I did sleep because I was super tired, but it was the overthinking that made it very hard to.
Yeah, that's right. So sometimes you could sleep too little or sleep too much. The point is your body just wants to check out.
Yeah.
Right? Other things, negative thoughts. What were some negative thoughts that you may have had while preparing for this test?
I think it would just be to fail the test, even though like I might go and get like 100%, but in my mind I'm always thinking about what if I failed this test.
That's right. Mm-hmm. One thing I see collectively is, as Arab in general, we have core beliefs of, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are two big ones I see in working with many Arab and many Arab are perfectionists.
Yeah, that's so true.
Oh my God. We could do everything 100% and lisa, احنا بنفكر, it wasn't that good.
Oh my God, that's so true. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Why? Because no matter what we do, it's never good enough. And we come from a culture, maybe it's changed with the younger generation, that my parents, and in general, most of my family members and cousins and stuff, the parents had this belief, if they complimented you or if they told you you did a good job, you will become lazy.
Oh. Yeah.
So they never complimented us to keep us going after that stick, the carrot. Oh, they have the stick and the carrot, and then they keep moving it because I asked my mom about that. I said, "Yama, like what was happening with you guys?" She said there was this belief, if you praise too much, that you will stop working hard.
Yeah. Wow. How do people think that way?
Well, the different generations, different generational beliefs. My hope is that we can do better. I'm hoping my generation can do better for your generation, that we can really stop this narrative that people seek validation. They need validation until they can figure it out internally to get that validation within themselves. A lot of times we're going to seek it from our parents, which is a very normal thing. Yeah. It's good to say, hey, Habibti, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Really good job.
Exactly. Yeah. That would motivate you to do more.
That's right. But what happens is when you don't have any of that and you're on this like lone island, or you feel like you're on this lone island, taking these intense exams, you're constantly in your ruminating thoughts, the thoughts that keep going on and on. I'm not good enough. I'm going to fail, because there's nobody to be your guardrail to say you're going to do fine. You're going to be okay. Yeah. So then the nervousness just gets more and more and more.
Yeah. It makes such a big difference to have someone beside you to keep like telling you that you're doing a good job, that you're making a good effort. I wish everyone going through this year could have someone to tell him these kinds of words.
Well, Mira, then they can come look at this video and we'll look at them and say, you're going to be okay. And I'm going to say, even if you fail, which I don't even know what failure means, because I don't necessarily see things as failure. They're learning opportunities. But even if you don't do as well, you're still good enough. You're still okay. Yeah. You will still thrive in whatever you decide you want to do in your life. Do not let whatever the exam score define who you are as a human being.
Yeah. And you never know where life takes you. I always say that is like when you put your heart and soul into whatever you're doing, even if you don't want to do it, even if you don't like it, when you put your heart and soul into it, even if this didn't mean good grades, at the end of the day, God has seen that you did this effort, and you're gonna see it sparkling in some other way, in some other thing. It doesn't have to be in this specific exam. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
Because it will lead you to maybe perhaps where you were meant to be. And so that's where, when you can go from perception, your perception is, I have to pass this test.
Yeah.
If you were to broaden it out to perspective, to say, what is the bigger picture, and start to look at it through a larger lens.
Yeah.
That may help with the nervousness, the moodiness, because when you're under chronic stress, it affects your thinking abilities. So you're going to have a harder time concentrating, focusing, remembering.
Yeah.
So if you're really concerned about doing well on this exam, it's going to be really important that you give yourself more perspective to say, okay, I'm going to just do the best that I can. And whatever that means to you, not to your parents, but to you.
Yeah.
My sense is everything will unfold.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about, okay, that's nice, Tiffany. Thank you for the awareness. What do we do with that, right? How do we combat this stress? So let's talk about, what were some things that helped you deal with some of the stressors?
It would be, okay, I was blessed to have someone to always motivate me and give me, to praise what I'm doing, to be like, you're doing a good job. So that helped me, of course, was my parent. And then also I tried to always think about that, God sees my effort and he's not going to forget about that. Like, there's no way what I'm doing is going to be for nothing. So, yeah, I think those are the two main things.
Yes, I love that. So one thing I heard is having a support system.
Yeah.
It is so important. If you can't find the support from your parents, that's okay. Try and find a teacher, a mentor, an older cousin, a friend, a friend, parent's friend, right? Find those people that you can go to for support. Now, sometimes we think when we're under chronic stress that we don't know who those people are.
Yeah.
There are always people there, at least one person that you can go to for support. So I'll encourage you, think about all the people in your community and say, who can I go to if this feels too much? Now, if you have parents that are open to you talking to a therapist, obtaining mental health services, I would really encourage you during this year-long period to do that. If you can go and get a therapist, and if your parents are open to it, and if you're open to it, nothing greater than having someone's undivided attention for 50 minutes to talk to about everything. And hopefully a good therapist and a good fit. We'll talk about that on another video. Yes, the other piece you talked about was faith. Faith is a big one. Now, faith, whether you're religious or not, what you're speaking to is a connection to something outside of yourself. To have a belief in who you are and trusting that you are supported and seen. Okay? Now, if your faith will help you, guide you through that, no matter what your faith is, beautiful. Access it, utilize the prayers, the chantings, all the different things, the community to really give that to you. How does that sound? Right?
Yeah, that's amazing. So we talked about two very important things. Support system. You got to find your support system. That's very important. And faith. What do you think are other tips that would make this time less stressful?
So breathing deeply. So many times when our nervous system, so that's the stress, your nervous system is really, really activated, right? I talked about this in my managing anxiety workshop that I have, I think, coming up at the end of September, where we talk about the nervous system. Your nervous system is really, really, really activated. Now, on a physiological level, you cannot mentally get yourself out of that. It's important to get your body regulated first. So how do we do that? Deep breathing. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, right? Online, you can find deep belly breathing, box breathing. There's so many. You have to find which breathing technique works best for you. But just even taking a deep breath. I'm feeling stressed. And then you hold it, and then you breathe out. Another technique that I really like is practicing mindfulness. So what does that mean? When you're under a lot of stress, go out in nature. Connect with water is really nice. If you don't have access to like water sources, look at beautiful flowers. Look at the clouds. Look at the sky. Look at the trees. Practicing or walking and being mindful. Yoga, stretching. Probably looks silly. But stretching your body, moving your body, wall sits. Do you know what a wall sit is?
No.
Put your back up against the wall and then you sit. Jogging in place rapidly. You want to get your body temperature to slow down. And these mindfulness practices, yoga will help to stretching, wall sits, wall pushes, where you're pushing against the wall. These are things that will get your body from this activated state into a more mindful state to go, oh, here's what's happening. It'll slow your brain down. And then from there, you'll be able to say, okay, what do I need? Do I need to get a drink of water? Do I need to eat? Do I need to connect with a friend? Do I need a hug? Do I need to go to sleep? Do I need to get up? You see, but you can't find those solutions until you can regulate your body.
And maybe it doesn't have to be that you think like maybe you're listening to us now and you're thinking like, oh, I don't have time for that, because maybe if you're inside this chronic anxiety mode, you will think like, oh, I don't have time to even make myself feel better. So it doesn't have to be walking in a certain way or walking a certain amount of time. It could be walking to the same thing that you're going to your job, to your school, whatever. It doesn't have to be like a perfect timing and a perfect day, and it doesn't have to be scheduled. And right?
No, not at all. I don't do schedules. I think, yes, having a consistent, structured practice is great. However, it's not, I found in my experience, it's not really realistic for people.
Yeah.
I like doing, you're sitting at your desk, you're feeling stressed out. Okay, stretch your body right here. Just move your body. Take a deep breath right in here. I love what you said. You're walking to school, you're walking to the market, you're walking to a friend's house.
Yeah.
And just be mindful and say, oh, look at, there's the trees, they're green.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this, there's that. Oh, and then just get your mind focused on something other than the
I used
ruminating.
to do that. Yeah, I would look at the sky and the trees, and I'd be like, yeah, the world is so big, and what I'm going to do is a very tiny thing, and it doesn't need all that stress, right? Yeah.
Which I love, which is the next technique, which is reframe your stress. And that's a perfect example of that, that perception versus perspective is exactly what you just said. You want to reframe the stress to say, this is one moment in time. I can only do the best that I can. How am I going to get myself in a place that I could just move through it in a game time decision? It's not going to affect, if you see it's going to affect your whole life, that's going to be too stressful. I know we need to start wrapping up. So we've got, again, basics: exercise, sleep, and nutrition. If you're eating a lot of not great foods and you're not nourishing your body, or if you're not eating at all, your brain is not going to get the fuel in your body, and it could get you really anxious. For those that have anxiety, breakfast in the morning is important. So if you're not eating breakfast and you have anxiety, and you're like, oh, Tiffany, I don't feel like eating in the morning, I'm going to say, try to have a little bit of something, because it's going to spin your nervous system if it's in a state of starvation or in a state of hunger. So, all right. Now, there's so many other ones.
Tell me more.
We're gonna, couple more. Control what you can control. You can't control your parents. You cannot control the NAS. You cannot control your neighbors. You cannot control their haki, right? The noise. You cannot control the haki. What can you control?
Yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So just think, what is it? It's haki fadi.
Yeah.
It's just, is that right, Mira? Did I say that right?
Fadi. Yeah.
It's just, so what I like to do when I would hear the haki fadi, because I would hear it everywhere. It was like all around my head, my body, everybody was just like, inti. What I would encourage you to do is just, again, take a deep breath and just envision, just allow it to pass through you. It's going to hurt. I'm not going to say it's not going to hurt. I'm not going to say what they say doesn't mean it. It does. It does affect you. However, you want to minimize the effect. And if you take a deep breath and just say, it's just allow the haki to just pass through your body, not stay in your body. You can envision it in any way you want. Putting it in a race car, like just putting the thoughts and racing it away. If you like leaves and you put it in a stream, you just put each leaf on a stream and just watch it go down. You want to be able to control what you can control. And you can control it by also setting a boundary and saying, I'm going to go to the room. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, but like you can get out of that situation by saying, oh, Auntie, I'm going to go do something, like, right?
Yeah.
Figure it out. I call it Arabi finesse.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in another video. It's about what are some of the things you need to do to control what you can in your life within these cultural pressures. But we'll talk about that in another video.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love Arabi finesse. It's saved me on so many ways. Mira, I think we hit all of them. And the last one is gratitude and positivity.
Oh, yeah.
To be grateful that you're in this place. Sometimes we forget when we're so anxious and so stressed about the blessings we have in our life and the gratitude that we can walk through. Sometimes it's hard to see that. So if you can say, oh, today I studied for 5 minutes, celebrate yourself for that. Or, oh, today I went for a walk and I took care of myself. Celebrate yourself for that. We do not celebrate. Even when we have big things, we're like, oh, that's okay. Khalas,
so
we did
true. Yeah, we don't. It's like it's shame if we do celebrate. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, they'll say, شايفة حالها or شايف حاله, or
Yeah.
what are they doing? They love to celebrate weddings. They love wedding celebrations. Let's take that energy of the wedding celebrations and really bring it into celebrating yourself every day, even for the little things that you do. Now, what that will tell your body is that I'm honoring you, I care about you, and let's hope that will help minimize some of the anxiety that you feel around this test and around this year-long process.
That was amazing. I loved it. Thank you for sharing all that with us. Thank you so much.
Mira, thank you for bringing it up, and we hope some of the tips were helpful, and we wish all of you the very best.
Yeah.
And please put comments below. Let us know what you think. We're here to support you in any way that we can.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.